What's up, friends? I'm U.S. Army veteran Christopher Chaos, and welcome to Chaos Live, the live show where I get to hang out with you guys and we get to chat about fun stuff and all that cool stuff. Thanks to Bit Expert, History Expert, and Southern Sun for being the first few to join us here in the chat. How's everybody doing? And first comment, by the way. Yeah, Bit Expert, first comment. So if you are new to this is the little weekly live thing that I like to do where I like to jump on here, hang out with you awesome people that wants to join me live. Anybody who wants to watch afterwards is cool as well. Do some Q&A, hang out with you guys and talk about some different subjects, and all that kind of stuff. So whichever, whatever. It's a fun kind of a thing. I normally do this on Sundays. I try to, but obviously there was some important stuff going on Sunday that I did not want to compete with. I'm not a big football fan, I was going to say, but I did watch the Super Bowl, and it was fun. It was exciting. I'm a Raiders fan, I guess. Not that big of a fan, though, because I really don't know a lot of the players or anything like that on the team and follow it too much. But I do root for the Raiders, and so I just watched the game in general, and I knew that if I came on here on Super Bowl Sunday, it would probably be very low traffic. So I decided to put it off, and then yesterday I got busy with stuff, and then I was going to do it, so then I started to just jump on today. So I figured today was a good day to kind of jump on, hang out with you guys. We'll do some stuff. Oh yeah, go back to here. I got a couple of topics we'll talk about a little bit. Talking about some Super Bowl stuff for the soldiers as far as like what kind of happens when you're like deployed and the Super Bowl's going on. I got some new shirts I'll show you guys, and we'll do some Q&A and all that kind of stuff. Cool. So let's see from the top. First day subscribing like 5 minutes ago. That's awesome. So I see you have a history or a question, history expert. What's it like the first day? You're talking about what's like the first day in the Army? If that's your question, I can help you out with that. And then we got first comment from Bit Expert. He was the first one to kind of jump in here and start the chat off. History Expert apparently was the first like. I can't actually see likes from my screens that I have over here, so I'm going to take your word for it. And then Richard, what's up? Howdy. By the way, Richard is our friendly admin in here. Don't do stupid stuff. Don't be a jerk. Let's be friendly. Let's have a good time, and let's hang out and have good stuff. And hopefully Richard or myself will not have to kick you out because we want to hang out with you guys. This isn't the game of let's try to kick a bunch of people out. Let's play the game of let's hang out and have a good time and ask questions and just have a good friendly conversation kind of thing. So, and then History Expert says subscribe 5 minutes ago. So awesome. Thank you. So maybe you are that, and where's that? Over this way. Maybe you are number 6,721, possibly. I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody who's subscribed since then. So, and Richard Fly, Eagles Fly. Are you an Eagles fan, Richard? Or are you just rooting for them because you didn't want the Patriots to win? So, History Expert, thanks for your service. Thank you. Navy versus Army football. I don't really watch a whole lot of football, but that they usually here have the in Colorado Springs, they have the Air Force versus Army sometimes because the Air Force Academy is here in Colorado Springs. So when the Air Force football team plays for hometown anyways, then they'll do it here. Why did you get ETS? So why did I get out of the Army? Kevin asks. I just guess got sick of it. Wanted to move on, wanted to do something else in my life. I didn't want to be a lifer for the Army. I wasn't that happy being an 88 Mike, being a transportation guy in the Army, and I wanted to do other stuff. So I spent a little over 10 years and then decided to get out and stuff. And then Justin, Chaos Justin in the house. What's up, Justin? Thank you for hanging out. Thanks for joining. U.S. Army veteran as well, MP all day. Awesome, Lauren. Yeah, right? By the way, I've mentioned this before in live streams. I'm probably going to jack up your guys' names unless you have something really easy like Richard or Kevin. That's pretty easy for me. But anything else, I'm going to probably screw it up. That doesn't even sound like really a hard name, but, I'll probably screw up your name. So don't take an offense to it or anything. But MP, awesome. So that's cool. I have a friend that lives here in the Springs that I'm used to playing a band with. He used to be an MP in the Army back in the day as well. So awesome. So I'm specific World War I and World War II expert. Awesome. Cool deal. You had a question earlier. I didn't know if you were talking about what's it like the first day. If you're talking about the first day here, since you just subscribed, then cool. Let's see. Richard, I am a fan. Army buddy got me into them when I was stationed at Fort Carson, so since 2013-ish. Cool. Yeah, I started following the Raiders. So, like, when I was in high school, I still wasn't even much of a football fan even then. I rooted for the Cowboys, and that was mainly because like when I was in high school, that was when the Cowboys were on that massive, like, what was it, like, I think it was 2 football. Hey, Southern Sun, thank you very much. Awesome, you rule. Do you have a video on the OCS? I'm not even sure what the OCS is. I'm not, if it's a new acronym that maybe is something recent, I'm not even sure what the OCS is. But back to my story, I used to be a Cowboys fan because Cowboys were doing awesome back when I was in high school. They won like 2 back-to-back Super Bowls at that time. They also had Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and all that kind of stuff. So I was a Cowboys fan. Then I started watching football. And then when I was in the Army, a lot of people were watching football. So I was like, I'll root for a California team. So I started rooting for the Raiders and just kind of root for them. I don't really watch too much of this stuff. So history expert, you're 12 years old. Well, welcome. We'll try to keep it PG. I usually keep it PG anyway, so. First day in the Army, thinking of joining at 17. So the first day is really just a reception kind of time frame. When you first show up, you'll show up to reception at basic training and just kind of do a little bit of paperwork and stuff. A lot of people are nervous. You'll probably show up like way late at night a lot of times. Just kind of depends. And it's just kind of getting processed into the system. You'll start kind of doing some basic things. You'll go eat. The drill sergeants aren't really too strict yet, but they are still have some strict restrictions of, things where they're not quite yelling at you just yet, but they're, making sure you hurry up and do stuff still. But the first day really is the first day of basic training. That's just a lot of admin stuff. And then the next day you get a haircut and and then you'll get your first set of uniforms around that time as well. So. Still waiting, Southern Sun. I want to answer your question. I know, because you were awesome enough to give a super chat, but I'm not sure what OCS is. So I don't know what you're talking about. Do you have a video on how to go to? Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. For some reason, I don't know. I was drawing blank. So yeah, Southern Sun. Okay. So not really a video on how to go to OCS. So OCS is, what does it stand for? But it's basically a school for officers to become an officer, essentially. But you go and, thanks, officer candidate school. I don't know why I drew such a blank on that. I think because you had the periods in there, where normally I'm just used to seeing it just like how Richard kind of has in the chat, OCS, and maybe it would have clicked a little bit better. But yeah, but my officer video that I have that talks about how the officer ranks are and how they work, I briefly touch on OCS and kind of how that process works of becoming an officer, where you can go the route of going to ROTC or going to OCS. And thank you so much, Southern Sun. I'm sorry I drew a blank on OCS. You didn't have to donate again, but thank you for it. Appreciate it. But yeah, you can either go ROTC, OCS, or you can also try to get into West Point. And those are kind of one of the 3 main routes that you can take to try to become an officer in the Army. I don't really have anything specific on how the process works of going to OCS. It's kind of basically, you're still going to have to go through basic training, because really OCS is the step you would take if maybe you already have a 4-year degree. So if you already have gone to college and you already have your 4-year degree, but you didn't go to ROTC, then OCS would probably be your course you'd go. OCS is also kind of the school you would go to if you're already in the Army as an enlisted soldier and you want to become an officer. So you go to school, work on getting your bachelor's degree, getting your 4-year degree, and then apply for OCS and then get into OCS. And then you become an officer. So really, like, if you're fresh coming out of high school not that long ago, or you haven't done college or anything yet, probably the better route for you is going ROTC. So you go and you join a college that has a ROTC program. Your first, and I talk a little bit about this in the officer video as well, but your first 2 years is kind of some basic stuff that you're learning for ROTC. And then from there, after 2 years, then you have to, if you want to continue doing ROTC before you move into your 3rd year, you have to kind of commit to an Army contract. Excuse me. And that's kind of a little bit how that process sort of works. But that would be my recommendation if you're trying to go officer, is to go ROTC. But if you already have a 4-year degree, then OCS would be your next option. If you feel like you're confident enough and really knowledgeable, You can try for West Point. Usually for West Point, though, you have to get recommended for West Point. So I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know there's like a process where you have to kind of get in contact with like a state representative and try to get them to nominate you for West Point and recommend you. And then if you qualify, then you can go to West Point and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, ideally ROTC would probably be a good route to go. So let me go back through the comments a little bit. I was talking about that. So Thomas planning on signing next week. Awesome. And then college in the military. You can go to college in the military. You can take some classes, some night classes. You usually have to get prior, let your leadership know that, hey, I want to take some classes. But sometimes that can get affected by, training events and stuff like that. So sometimes it's kind of tough. Most of the time when soldiers want to go to college, in the Army, they re-enlist for it and do the college option, which allows you to re-enlist, and then for like a semester, usually only for a semester long though, you'll basically just go to formation in the morning, and then from there, you won't do PT or anything like that. You'll take off and go to school and do your class all day, and then you kind of just having to show up every day for accountability purposes and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a way you can kind of go to school for while you're in the military, and you can kind of do some of that stuff. Some people do online school. Like I said, sometimes it's tough if you don't have the college option from re-enlisting, because training can get in the way and all that kind of stuff. So this is kind of tough sometimes. Kevin, you should do a video about SF and special operations. I'm going to work on it. I have a coworker that I work with who has gone to the SF training twice. First time he went, he did not pass the land nav portion, and then the second time he went, he got injured and couldn't continue on. And then I have another friend who went to the training and got pretty close to the end and then got injured and couldn't continue the rest of the school. So I got to do a little bit more research on it, but there's also the hard part too about talking about the training that can get you into the special forces, is a lot of it is kind of like classified or secret or whatever. Even like soldiers that go to special forces training have to sign like a non-disclosure agreement saying that they're not allowed to get really specific with the training that they do there. Otherwise, the Army can go after you for, breaking that contract and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that isn't really talked about, but I can still kind of give a general overview of some of the stuff that happens. It is a very long kind of process. There's like a course that you can go to if you're doing the option to go straight from basic into special forces, that you do like pre-course, which that pre-course is not required for soldiers who are already in the Army. And then people who are already in the Army, then they go to SFAS, and then they go to that school, and that's 3 weeks, I think, 3 or 4 weeks of that, and that's to try to get selection, make selection to make it. And if you make it through the whole process and make it through selection, then you do the Q course, which is like a year and a half long. We do language training, a bunch of other stuff, and then somewhere's in there you also have to do SEER training, and so it's a long process. I'm going to try to work on a video to do some of that. So I will work on a special forces video of how soldiers go through special forces, as well as Delta, which Delta is not called Delta anymore. It's called, I can't remember. I was just talking about it today. Something with a C. I don't remember what it's called, but Delta is not called Delta anymore. And then that's a separate thing too. It's part of the special forces kind of, but usually recruitment for Delta or whatever it's now called, I forget what it's called, usually comes from either special forces guys, or sometimes they'll take people from the Ranger Battery to go to Delta. And that's kind of a offshoot of special forces, but a little bit higher. So what else we got? Hang on, let me go back through the comments here. Hard to find a channel like this, History Expert. Thank you. Hopefully this channel helps a lot of people. I want to try to add more content to this channel too. I know I do, my fitness thing that I'm working on, which is hard to stay motivated sometimes, but I'm trying to keep with it. Views aren't very high on it, but that's not a big deal. I still enjoy entertaining however many people I entertain. My big draw is obviously the educational videos of teaching people about how things work in the Army. But I want to add more to my channel. I'm going to work on figuring out what else to add to my channel to keep people entertained. Probably military related. I'm going to keep it military related for the most part. The only thing that kind of strays a little bit away from military related is when I do vlogs. That's sort of military related because you get to see a little bit of how an Army veteran is living his life, but I haven't really had anything really too interesting to vlog about, so I haven't done a vlog in a while. But maybe maybe soon, because I got some stuff coming up this Saturday where I'm working with some friends of mine in a band called Save Enable. So you might have heard of the band Save Enable, Southern rock band. I'm doing some video shoot stuff with them this weekend, potentially, probably, if we're still doing it or not. I don't know. I have to talk to my buddy Scott, the bass player, and see if we're still doing it. But I might vlog some of that stuff. We'll see if I do or not. I don't know. But we're working on a DVD for Save Enable, and I got some more footage to shoot for that. Let's see. Going through the comments. Make a video on how the Army contracts work. It's a pretty good idea. I can research some of that. It sounds like something maybe pretty interesting as far as how they kind of work, and making sure that, you know, soldiers, or not soldiers, but civilians that are looking to become soldiers don't get screwed over and get the best options they could. Because I guess some of that stuff could have helped me. Like when I joined the Army, I didn't know anything about bonuses, so I didn't know that there was, you know, jobs out there that have bonuses. They can get you a little bit more money for joining, because it's a job that people, you know, that the Army needs and stuff like that. So maybe that could have been a good one, you know, for some information to know for me when I was younger, and it may help out some other people. So that's a good question and a good suggestion. So thank you, Thomas, for that suggestion. I'll look into maybe some information of what I could include in a Army contract video. Yeah, don't do politics. Bit expert. We don't cover politics in here, by the way. Yeah, I'm not a fan of politics. Okay, so one, I'm just not a fan of it. Two, I don't pay attention to it, so I don't know enough about it to make a good argument about anything. So, but mainly one, because I'm not a fan. What was Richard? And if you go enlisted, you can also go green to gold. Yeah. So that's back to that other previous stuff. I'm trying to catch up on the comments or on the chat. But yeah, you can do the green to gold program. That's a program for people who join the Army and then later want to become officers. I couldn't think of what I was trying to say. Any advice before going to BLC, the basic leader course? Is that what it is? So that's see, I'm a little old school. I got out of the Army in 2010. So someone's gonna have to refresh my memory on BLC, because I think that's what used to be PLDC. So that's for going to become an E5. But school's probably changed since I went, because I went to, it was PLDC, and I did that back in 2005. Yeah, 2005. I went to PLDC, and then I went to BNOC, which is for from E5 to E6, in 2009, just before I got out of the Army, which was stupid, but I went to it anyways. When enlist, can I request air assault and airborne school with Combat Engineer 12 Bravo MOS? I'm very interested in getting those tabs after AIT. That was a question from Justin. Yes, you can request it when you talk to your recruiter. You can request that, hey, after I get done with basic training, after I get done with, since you can be a 12 Bravo, you will have AIT. After I get done with AIT, I want to move on and I want to go do air assault school and airborne school. It's a little unique that you do both. Not a lot of people, I mean, some people do, I guess, both airborne and air assault. It might be tough to get both right off the bat. You might get one or the other, and then later in your Army career have to ask to go to one of those schools. But you can probably get at least one of those schools in your contract to go to airborne school or air assault school afterwards. I would say probably, I don't know. I say I've never done both of the schools. I know a lot of people that have done both. Air assault, I know it has a lot of kind of some math and other stuff involved with it, because you're not just learning how to rappel out of a helicopter, you're also learning how to sling load stuff to be carried by a helicopter, and that requires some math to know the weight of stuff and all sorts of other little measurements and all sorts of things. Where airborne school is mainly just jumping out of a plane. And I don't think there's a lot of math and all that kind of stuff involved, because you're not really doing additionally like rigging stuff and all that kind of thing. So, but yeah, you can request for it. Let me jump through the comments more. So yeah, Richard helping out Southern Sun about the green to golds. Yeah, if you already joined the Army as an enlisted soldier, you can later go green to gold, but you are going to have to try to work on getting a 4-year degree. Sometimes that's part of the green to gold program, is they will allow you to go to school and you can do all that kind of stuff. So, do enlisted families get help with rent if you decide to live off post? Yes. So that's a question from, say, class of 93 Echo, something like that. I don't know if that's how your username is pronounced, or said, but yes. So when you are married, so if you are married and you join the military, you get what's called BAH, basic housing allowance. And that extra pay on top of your regular pay for whatever your rank is what you're supposed to use for like rent and food and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you choose to live on post, they don't give you that. I think they take most of that or part of that away. And then you can, still use that for food and everything like that. But if you live on post, then you don't. But especially like if you come in as an E1, housing on post usually for like E1, E2, E3 is pretty crummy. E4 gets a little bit better, and then you don't really actually start having nice on-post housing until you get to the rank of sergeant or an E5, and then it gets a little bit better and stuff. But yeah, you'll get BAH to help you with rent and all that kind of stuff. Waiting for my security clearance because I'm a green card holder, but I already signed my contract. I meant, sweet, way to go, Hugo. Yeah, it's a little bit different process now. They're kind of getting a little bit more like crazier with that, with all some new rules and stuff. But as long as like your background check went through, then a lot of times for green card holders, they'll go ahead and start the process and get you in. But they won't do that for, I don't think, reserves or National Guard. I think it's only for active duty. So I'm guessing by what I've heard that Hugo, you are going active duty then, I'd imagine. So still getting caught up on comments. If the Army would give you the option, what military uniform would you want to be back? I'm a big, that's from, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Cassius, I guess. I don't know. I like the pinks and greens. I know I talked about in that video, there's a video that I have on here that's talking about like how Sergeant Major of the Army Daily wants to bring back the pinks and greens. And I think in the video I talked about how I thought that he was going to do it to replace the ASUs, the Army Service Uniform, but from more that I understand later after did the video, it's more of a like office uniform. So if you don't work in the motor pool, or you work in some kind of office environment, or maybe you're just going to be doing some other type of task that doesn't involve you getting dirty and stuff, then the pinks and greens is what you would wear to be a little bit more formal when you're not doing something that could get you all dirty and everything. So yeah, it's a different type of uniform, but I like the pinks and greens. I think that's a pretty cool uniform. So is Delta now called Charlie? So it's not called Charlie. It's like, it's something that starts with a C though. I forget what it's called. It's not even like a, like you have, that one's just Delta. That's it. It's like CAC or CA. I don't remember. It's C. It starts with a C. That's what Delta is called. And I forget what it's called. What's an 11 X-ray? Okay, there we go. Someone's saying 11 X-ray is basically a guaranteed spot to try out for Special Forces. No, that would be 18 X-ray. 18 X-ray would be trying out for Special Forces, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure 18 X-ray, because 18 series is your Special Forces guys, and I believe 18 X-ray is for that. 11 X-ray, let's do a Google search. Why not? Do a Google search right now. See if something pops up. It doesn't say specifically what X-ray. It says infantry, which I know that. I knew that it was 11, but designated training, same. I'm not sure. I'm sure someone in the comments probably maybe answered already. Matt Best was an 11 X-ray. I'm just jumping through the comments real quick. I just saw that pop up. Was he? Was he an 11 X-ray? Wasn't Matt Best a Ranger? I think he was. I thought he was a Ranger. So I was trying to see in somewhere in here. Someone else can probably Google it better than I can, because I'm trying not to give you guys too much of a dead space of me sitting here staring at a screen while I look up 11 X-ray. But I thought 18 X-ray was the option for joining the Army and then going Special Forces. So if someone else later answers it later, I'll answer. I'll look at it. How do you feel about World War II conspiracies? I don't know. I don't know anything about any World War II conspiracies. 11 X-ray is basically guaranteed. Okay, I already tried that one. Where did you go to PLDC? So, I went to PLDC in Fort Hood. And that was, like I said, in 2005, I think it was, when I went to PLDC. What is the best jobs for colorblind soldiers in the military, whether it's Army, Air Force, Navy, or Marines? I don't really know. So I'm actually partially colorblind. So when I went through MEPS and everything like that, I went to MEPS the first time, which was for the basic physical and everything like that, and see what MOSs I could qualify for and all that stuff. I think they do it a little bit differently now, but that's how it worked when I did it in 99. But one of the first time I went to MEPS, that's when I found out that I was partially colorblind. I basically did that little test with all the dots and everything, and you're supposed to tell them what number you see, and I was only able to see about half the numbers. So I was determined to be colorblind. So that kind of knocked down some of the jobs that were available to me. 88 mic though was still available to me. I wasn't too keen on it, but I just kind of went with it because I was at the time only going to really do my just initial contract of 4 years in the Army and then get out and go to school, which didn't end up happening. But I don't know what the best jobs would be for someone colorblind, but 88 mic is a definite option that I know of that I was able to qualify for as being colorblind. But it's just a matter of if you are even interested in doing transportation, being a truck driver, and then later when you become a non-commissioned officer, you're more of the behind the scenes and being the truck commander and riding in the passenger seat, but occasionally still driving too though, but not nearly as much as when you're low enlisted stuff. So yeah, Richard Hansen. Man, I'm still catching up on these comments. PLDC, it was WLC, now it's BLC. So yeah, that's what I figured it kind of was. I know they changed it to WLC when I was still in the Army, but it was like towards the last couple of years of my time in the Army. History expert asking, do I like war museums? Sure, they're cool. I've only really been to probably one, which was in Korea. I went to the war museum there that was inside Seoul, and it was kind of cool. It was cool walking around and checking out stuff. So Hugo, yes, active duty. So awesome. Congratulations, Hugo. Best of luck to you. Is basic more mentally than physically? That's a question from Juan. Yeah, I would say so for the most part. I think it's a little bit combination of both though, really, because you are going to do a lot of physical stuff, but also a lot of it's mental as well, because, you know, they're being dicks to you on purpose to yell at you and try to break you down and try to see if you can handle the pressure of being yelled at, because if you can hopefully handle the pressure of someone yelling at you and you can still accomplish the task, then hopefully you can still accomplish your task while you're, you know, being shot at, hopefully. Kind of, you know, a somewhat, you know, gauge for that. But I would say it's a little bit of a combination of both. I mean, you're going to do a lot of physical stuff, and most of that is to get you into shape, and then to mess with you too, because they're going to make you do like stuff just out of the blue. You know, some guy sneezes or something, and all of a sudden everybody's doing push-ups because that one guy sneezed. You know, whatever. It's just an excuse. You know, they're not really mad at that person for sneezing, but they're like, hey, this is a great excuse for me to get them to get a little physical, you know, exercise in to help prepare them a little bit better. So I'm going to make them all do push-ups. So they're going to mess with you on purpose. So it's a good combination of both mental and physical, I would say. So Manuel saying Met Best 11X. We already talked about that one. But then I saw somewhere else someone saying that he was a Ranger. So suggesting when I go to BCT, AIT, TAB school, does my family stay in Texas while in training, or do they live on base during or after AIT? So yeah, they will stay home. You will not really bring them with you until you are done with all your schooling. Once you're done with all your schooling, and you've been assigned your permanent duty station, whatever unit you're going to go to after all your training, that's when you'll be able to move all your family. So you'll go through all that training. You'll probably go home afterwards for like however long of vacation, maybe like a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't think they do the hometown recruiting program anymore, but there used to be this program where you could go home for like a month and you kind of spent maybe like 2 weeks on vacation, and then the other 2 weeks kind of working with your recruiter, trying to recruit more people into the Army. But I think I've heard they don't do that program anymore. I don't know for sure though. But during that time frame when you're home on vacation and everything, you'll start getting together all the housing and everything like that to move all your stuff. So you can either drive your car to the next location. If you have multiple cars, you can ship one of them. And then you can also ship all your household goods, and you make arrangements, and you'll go through all this, like when you leave AIT and all that stuff, for how to do this. But you'll make all the household arrangements to have all your stuff from your home, you know, back home, shipped to the new place that you're going to. And then when you show up at your new place, you don't have to worry about, you know, I mean, you have to soon get a place to live, but you'll usually be assigned temporary quarters inside of like on-post housing for guest lodging or whatever it's called. It's pretty sure it's called guest lodging. But you have like guest lodging. You'll stay there until you can find a place to rent or whatever you're going to do. If you're going to if you're going to try to get on the list for on-post housing, then you can do that. And then once something comes available, either a place to rent or on-post housing, then you can call up the movers for the Army and everything like that, and schedule an appointment for them to drop off all your household goods and all that kind of stuff. So that's all done after training and everything. I know in some videos you have faces blacked out for privacy reasons, but how are you able to use certain photos without faces censored in your videos? So I only do some of the stuff. I'll black out the faces because I'll do like an image search for what I want to use on the website. And if it didn't have a marking for labeled for reuse, because that's like a part of a setting you can do when you do a Google search or Google image search, you can drop down the settings a little bit more and check to see which ones are available for reuse. And if it's not labeled for reuse, then sometimes I'll blur out the face. If it is labeled for reuse, then a lot of times I'll just go ahead and leave their face up and stuff. So like, for example, with the uniform one, I left the faces visible with explaining uniforms because they were labeled as reuse. I think like the PT's picture actually comes from like AFI's website for buying uniforms. So it's kind of just how I kind of end up doing it. And yeah, so here was the one I was looking for, Manuel, saying he was a Ranger. So I guess Matt Best, I think, was a Ranger. So someone else was looking up 11 X-ray. And then again, we do thank you for this channel. As if someone young person asks basic questions about the U.S. Army, I tell them about great informative channel. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope this channel serves that. But I want to do more. Like I said, I like it's fun. That's why I like doing my job on base. I teach soldiers how to use the system JCR, which is a navigation and messaging system that the Army uses, and I teach soldiers how to do it. And so I like teaching soldiers, and so it kind of falls in the same category. I like teaching you guys, teaching civilians, stuff about the Army, and that's kind of fun. But at the same time, I still want to do other entertaining stuff, maybe still Army related. I just got to figure out what the heck to do. That's why his YouTube page is Matt Best 11 X-ray. Yeah. But yeah, 11 X-ray, I still didn't catch if this happens to show up in the comments, if anybody figured out what the heck 11 X-ray is. Because like I said, I thought 18 X-ray was the option that you get for a temporary MOS until you complete Special Forces. So, Matt, what's up? What's happening? Let's see. Stand out or stand are in basic? I don't understand what your question is. 11 X-ray is unknown job at enlistment. Okay, so there you go. That's kind of what I was guessing it was, is maybe, because you only have really only a couple options for 11 series. If it's an unknown option, because that's usually how it works for like the Special Forces one, where I thought it was 18 X-ray. And then once you go through your school, then you figure out what your identifier is going to be on the end, whether it's, 18 was 18 Bravo is the rifleman for the Special Forces, I forget. And then I would imagine 11 X-ray is like some kind of an 11 series, but you only have really 3, 11 Bravo, 11 Charlie, and I think there's one other one. I don't remember for sure, but there's not a lot of options, so it doesn't really, I don't know, it's kind of weird. What's your opinion on Green Berets and Rangers in the Army? They're awesome. They go through some really, really hardcore training, and they're pretty badass. So I'm a fan. I am not badass enough to go through that crazy training when I was in the Army. So, but I have friends that went through the Special Forces training for the Green Berets and all that stuff. But yeah, they're pretty cool. 18 or 88 November, best for colorblind, Richard says. That was his MOS, I believe, right? Oh wait, this is a correction for Matt. Stand out or I still don't understand your question. You might have to retype it with better. Is it true the Army had an all-white uniform? I think that they still do, don't they? They have the mess uniform for the cooks. I'm not sure if they still, I thought I saw something where they don't use it, but I'm not 100% sure. But like when I was in, the all-white uniform was for the cooks. So people who worked in the DFAC, who worked in the culinary area, I guess, of the Army, they had an all-white uniform that they would sometimes have to wear, which is a white top and a white pants, and even like I think the white had a white cap. So it was an all-white uniform, but the all-white uniform I remember was for the cooks, for the DFAC people and all that kind of stuff. There's your next video on PCSing. Yeah, I mean, that could be, there's a video that I want to do on like what it's like for soldiers who are married in the Army and what it's like for soldiers who are single in the Army, and maybe some of that PCSing, like to go to your first duty station, might be in there. but I guess I could probably still do a separate PCSing as a whole, which if you're not familiar with what PCSing is, it's basically when you're moving from one post to another post. So you're stationed at one location and then you come up on orders saying, hey, you're going to go to this new location, this other Army base, and you'll move. And if you have family, well, then you have to move your family as well, unless they decide they want to stay. And then you can go by yourself, and that's probably sucks, but you can do that as well. So, hey, I'm new. Love your channel. Awesome. Thank you very much. Optic Assassin. So awesome. Basic was more mentally challenging for me. No matter how well you think you performed, it was never good enough for the drill sergeants. Don't get discouraged if you get yelled at for minor things. Yeah, it's pretty good advice. They're not yelling at you because they hate you. They're yelling at you because they want to make sure that you can handle the pressure and that you can, you're not going to start crying and curl up in the corner, because if you can't handle a drill sergeant yelling at you, you're not going to be able to handle if you're in a situation where someone's shooting at you. So this is kind of the thing. Southern Sun, well, it's 7:05 here. Is my part of Washington State. Well, time for chow, peace, and I'll watch the rest when you post it. Awesome. Thank you very much, Southern Sun, for coming and hanging out. Thank you again for the awesome super chats. I always appreciate it. You're awesome. Have a great evening, man. 18 X-ray Special Forces. That's pretty much what I thought. So I guess the 11 X-ray is something else. Do you know how long it takes the security clearance in active duty? That's Hugo. I don't know for sure. It usually takes a little bit of a process. It's like a more in-depth background check. And if it's an actual security clearance for like either getting a secret clearance or a top secret clearance, sometimes that initial one can take a year. But I'm assuming a lot of times what they'll do is they go through the major stuff, the make sure you're not a terrorist stuff, and making sure that you don't have major drug charges and certain other major things. Once they take care of that, then sometimes they do an interim security clearance just to get you in and get you started and get you going and everything. And then once they finish the whole process, then your security clearance is an actual full-on security clearance and not an interim security clearance. So it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. I know they usually estimate that it can take up to a year, especially when you're first doing it. Now, when you're renewing it, because you have to do it every 10 years for a secret clearance, and is it 20 for a top secret, or maybe it's still 10 even for top secret? You have to renew it. But when you go to renew it, because I've had to renew my clearance a couple times because I have to carry a secret clearance for my job that I do now, and that one only takes, when you're renewing it, only a couple months before it's called adjudication, comes back to say that you're good and all that kind of stuff. So any tips on getting physically ready for basic training, especially the running part? Just run. A lot of the stuff, so expect that you're going to do push-ups, you're going to do sit-ups, you're going to do run, you're going to do road marches, you're going to do other little crazy little exercises that they make up and have you do in basic training. But really the best thing to do is get up early in the morning if you can. Like, for example, I have on my channel this 30-day challenge I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to do 30 days of Army PT, and I get up early in the morning and I do Army-style PT. But I think that would be a great way to also, if you check out the series, you can see a little bit of information. But really, the great way to get prepared for basic training is get up early. Force yourself to get up really early in the morning, because in basic, you get up like even earlier than you will in your regular unit. In basic, you might get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning to start doing physical fitness, where like back your unit, it's gonna be 6:30. It's gonna be usually 6:30 to 7:30 or 6:30 to 8. Some units do an hour and a half, some units do an hour of physical fitness. But just get up really early, start going for runs, do several miles on a run, do a lot of push-ups, a lot of sit-ups, do some research online of different workouts to do outside, preferably, because that's how you're going to be doing it in basic training. Like I said, my 30-day challenge is a great video, a little series that I'm working on that kind of shows you some of that physical fitness process that you'll do in the Army somewhat. I mean, I'm definitely out of shape, hence also the reason why I'm doing it, because I want to get back into shape and do a little bit better. But yeah, definitely just running, doing push-ups, and doing sit-ups can really help you out with that kind of stuff. I think they have certain special white camo uniforms for combat zones in heavy snow. That one's not really, it's not really all white though. It's what is it, like blue and white and something else that they have in that camouflage pattern. And I don't even think they even use that anymore. It's kind of a little bit of an old school type of thing. I don't even think they have that current, but I'm pretty sure, I think the all white one might be the one that was for cooks. What are the rules for tattoos in the Army? Pretty sure that's a question that's asked a lot on the concerns of recruiters. So yeah, I have a lot of tattoos. This one comes all the way up to up here, or no, this one does. I was looking at the screen. This one comes all the way up to here, and then the flames just are just to there. But typically the tattoo policy is they cannot be on your hands, so you cannot have any tattoos on your hands, and you cannot have anything on your neck or on your face. And then you can't have anything that could be like sexist or racist or somehow offensive in some way on your body as well. So those are usually the kind of the main rules a lot of times with tattoos and everything. So those are the kind of the main stuff. Some people are able to get waivers. You know, there's people I've known that have had tattoos like on their neck or on their hand, and they're able to get waivers, and that kind of just takes a little bit more work. But typically, they don't want the tattoos being seen when you're like in normal uniform. Not too big of a deal when you're in physical fitness uniform, but when you're in like your dress uniform or in your ACUs, they don't want your tattoos really showing. So that's kind of the reason why it's not on your hands, not on your face, not on your neck, kind of thing. I really want to do 12 Bravo, but there's a space program. Oh, is there a space program in the Army, like astronauts or something? Plan on getting an astronaut engineer degree, mainly because my grandparents worked for NASA 40 plus years. There is people that work in space stuff in the Army. I'm not sure if that's a specific MOS or if it's more of a thing where they just grab some people to attach to some Air Force guys. Because I do know of some guys that work like in Space Command here in Colorado, because obviously we have like NORAD, we have Space Command here from Schriever and Peterson Air Force Base, and we do have Army soldiers that are attached to them that do different jobs, but I'm not 100% sure if that's actually an MOS. I would say your best bet if you really want to do a lot of like stuff with space, your Air Force. Air Force might be your best bet for that kind of stuff. I don't know for even astronauts. I think those are officers though, that do a lot of that kind of thing, or NASA people and stuff. I don't know. I don't think active duty military can actually do anything like if you're talking about going into space and doing that kind of thing. But if you're talking about like working with satellites and working with space shuttles and certain stuff like that, I think that's mostly an Air Force job. But there's might be Army positions, but it probably isn't as in depth as you would get if you probably went the Air Force route. So probably look into both just in case, but I'd imagine Air Force might be the better bet for astronaut type of stuff for that kind of a thing. So tropical dress uniform for the white uniform. I don't know if they have a tropical dress uniform. What else we got? I'm trying to catch up. Tips. We got some stuff in here. People answering some questions. Airspace related jobs. Thanks for the videos, very informative. Thank you, Jesse. Hey, let me talk about real quick, since I haven't gotten to it yet, is the kind of the, what was it? Oh, we want to go back here. I wanted to, one of these I still can't figure this out. This topic over here, Super Bowl for soldiers. So I was going to hit on this a little bit. Since we just had the Super Bowl recently, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the live stream and everything like that. But so like Super Bowl, when you are stationed overseas, like say a deployment, right? So like when I was stationed in Iraq, soldiers, still want to watch the Super Bowl and everything and check it out. Of course, it's on at like a crazy time. So like my first time I deployed to Iraq, we went and we had like something set up inside of a tent. We had a tent set up and we had some food in there and a TV, and people gathered up and watched the Super Bowl at like, I think it was like 3 in the morning or something. I don't even remember which Super Bowl it was. It would have been whatever Super Bowl was in 2006. It would have been like early 2006, obviously, when they had the Super Bowl. But it would have been the 2006 Super Bowl. So we watched it from there, early time frame in the morning. And then the second time, when I was in Baghdad, my second deployment in Iraq, they had it in the chow hall. And again, at the same early crazy time. I didn't go to that one though, because I had mission to do in the morning, and so I wasn't all about staying up late at night. But at that one, they actually allowed soldiers to have beer, which you don't get that stuff when you're in Iraq. But they only allowed them to have, I think, 2. I think they're allowed to have 2 beers during that whole game. Not much. You're not getting wasted watching the game, because they can't take any kind of risk of something happening and a bunch of soldiers having to go take care of that, and they're all drunk because they were watching the Super Bowl and getting hammered. So they had like a limit of 2 beers is all you're allowed to have. And you can hang out and watch the Super Bowl inside the chow hall and all that stuff. So soldiers even deployed, for some locations anyways, got to still watch the Super Bowl. Obviously, soldiers that were stationed more on like remote outposts probably didn't have that luxury of getting to be able to do that. But also the other thing that was horrible too was that if you're watching the Super Bowl when you were deployed, you didn't get to watch the cool commercials because it's being played on the Army Forces Network, or the Armed Forces Network, AFN, and AFN has their own commercials that they run. And sometimes they would try to be like all, you know, fun and have fun commercials, kind of like the Super Bowl ones, but they were definitely not anything like the Super Bowl commercials that you have during the game. So you didn't get to see any of the fun Super Bowl commercials while you're watching the game. You had to watch these kind of really cheesy AFN made commercials that were really criminally made. So that was kind of a little bit of a topic that I thought I'd kind of hit on a little bit during this live stream, since Super Bowl just happened recently. We'll get back to some questions. LASIK in the Army? Yes, so you can. So that's a question from Jared. If you have, you know, if you're about to get out of the Army, they usually don't approve of it. But if you have bad enough vision in the Army and you have, you know, some time left on your contract still, then yes, there's several soldiers that I know of that have gone through LASIK surgery in the Army, and you can do that. I do not want anything coming close to my eye. That's why I don't wear contacts, is because I have like a reflex that I can't even control. Like if I get something too close to my eye, I start blinking and I can't even control it. So I don't wear contacts, and I didn't want to go through LASIK surgery because you have to be awake for that, even though all the people I've talked to that have done it said that you don't even remember it because you're so drugged up, but I ain't doing that. So I'm used to wearing glasses. I've worn glasses for a long time, so I'll stick to it. But yes, soldiers, even other branches of the military, because I had my niece, she did LASIK and she was in the Air Force, and that is an available thing. What is the highest rank officer you've met? And when I actually met the COS General Shoemaker, very intimidating. The highest one I met would have been, well, he wasn't in the Army though. So if you're talking about Army, I briefly met, well, he was pretty high ranking still too. I briefly met Petraeus real quickly. I was in Ireland. We were in the middle of that was our layover from Iraq, or from Kuwait, because we go from Iraq into Kuwait, and then from Kuwait to Ireland, and then Ireland into the States for like vacation for your little 15-day leave from deployment. And while I was in Ireland, Petraeus happened to be there in Ireland, you know, kind of also in transition back to the United States, and I briefly met him real quick. But then highest ranking was actually the Joint Chief of Staff, and at that time it was Admiral Mullins. And so he's the highest ranking person in the military. He's kind of the officer in charge of the military in a way. So Admiral Mullins would have been the highest ranking person I met. And it was real brief too. I listened to him do a speech in Iraq. He gave us a coin. So I have a coin from Admiral Mullins from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And then we stood in line and I shook his hand and said hi. And that was about it. So nothing too crazy. As far as actually having a conversation with one, I think the highest ranking would be a 2-star general probably that I've actually had a conversation with. Well, what's your stance on ROTC? ROTC is a good program. I've never done it, but I feel if you're going to college and you want to become an officer, I think that's probably the best route if you are not eligible to try to go the West Point route, which is very hard to kind of do that West Point route. But I think ROTC is a good program to go through if you want to become an officer. Probably one of the best options to go through it. Bit Expert, see you next time. Got to go. All right, see you later, man. Thanks for hanging out and joining us for this little live stream. Let's see, I'm gonna skip through a little bit. So the uniform I was thinking of was a all white dress uniform. So yes, if you're thinking about an all white dress uniform, and I think that's still an active thing. I don't think they got rid of it, but it's the mess uniform, which is for cooks. So it has white pants, white top, white hat, and that's for cooks. They'll wear that kind of thing, or people even that work in the chow. They don't necessarily have to be a cook, but it's usually like food service type of thing. If you speak a second language, can that affect where you get deployed? Not really where you get deployed. By the way, if you do speak a second language and you speak it very fluently, you can get paid a little extra in the Army for being able to speak a fluid language if it's one of the ones that they kind of recognize or they kind of need or whatever. Like Spanish, for example, is one. If the soldiers who speak good English and speak or speak Spanish really well, then they can, I don't remember how much extra it is, but you get paid a little bit extra for being able to be fluent in another language. But it doesn't really affect where you're going to get deployed to. That's mainly a thing like for special forces guys. They go through language training as part of the Q course, and based on whatever language they feel you would learn the best is the language you learn, and then that language that you learn also depends on, or kind of decides what group you're going to go to, whether it's 10th group or whatever group for special forces you're going to go to that goes to that country, then that kind of determines that. But as far as regular units, no, it's not going to determine where you're going to deploy to. Everybody's going to deploy if they deploy. The Army is what I want to serve for because it works with what I have a lot better than the wife can be Mrs. Mom while I'm serving. And you were asking about the space stuff, right, Justin? I don't remember. Or was that somebody else that was asking about? No, yeah, you were asking about that stuff. So yeah, I would talk to. You'd have to look it up because there is an astronaut like badge that you can receive, and I don't know what you have to do to receive that astronaut badge. But you'd have to look into it. There's probably stuff that work with space. It might be a harder MOS to get into, but do a little, talking to a recruiter, do a little online searching. Because really that's what I would do. If you're really going to get like any kind of opinion of me, I'm going to go over to Google. I'm going to type in astronaut jobs or space jobs in the Army, and you can easily do that, I'm sure, on your own rather than me trying to do it real quick or anything like that. So, but yeah, I would look into it. It just kind of like I say, it's mainly an Air Force thing, but there are people that do some stuff in the Army with space stuff and all that kind of stuff. 2006 Super Bowl was Chicago Bears and Indianapolis Colts. Awesome. Thank you for that little adding that in there. That was the Super Bowl I would have seen when I was stationed in Iraq, where I went deployed to Iraq my first time for Talafar. And then the second Super Bowl that I saw would have been the 2008 Super Bowl, right? Because I deployed from 2007 to 2009. So I might have seen both the 2008 and the 2009 Super Bowl while I was in Iraq. Because I think when I came back in 2009, it was after the Super Bowl. So I probably saw both the 2008 and the 2009 Super Bowl in Iraq. I'm pretty sure I didn't go watch either of the two. I don't remember anyways. But yeah. Hey, Chris, how did you enjoy the Royal Rumble? So like I'm an old school wrestling fan. I'm not too much of a current wrestling fan. I watch it with my girlfriend when she watches it. And when we watched the Royal Rumble, whatever, a couple weekends ago, I wasn't really that impressed with it. It wasn't that exciting, especially like with the men's one. It was cool they had women and stuff in there. I know it's a little off topic from military stuff, but that's cool. But the men's one only had one kind of cool one, bringing back Rey Mysterio, I guess. But for the most part, there wasn't really anything that exciting about the men's one. The women's one, of course, had a lot of exciting ones. Old school wrestlers come back because it was the very first. So I think that was kind of the main reason with that. So I wasn't super excited about it. So we'll get over to this other topic because we're getting close to the hour mark. I usually try to only make these last for about an hour. But the other little topic I had in there was some new Chaos shirts. I have some new shirts that if you want to check out are pretty cool. If you want to see, I got them over here. So I have two new shirts that I designed. So one with the Chaos logo with the kind of multicam. Well, it's not really multicam, but it's the OCP kind of pattern, and then the digital style pattern here on one shirt. So you got that one, and you got this guy over here that's got the more current Army pattern that they have on the uniform. So it's just the logo with those different patterns on there. If you want to hit that up, that's ChristopherChaos.com/store. If you want to hit that up right now for the next 6 days, they do have a promotion going on. Sorry, for free shipping. You just hit this little button here and hit redeem code, and it makes it to where you only pay, sadly, the price of $15.49. I wish they were cheaper, but I don't get to set the prices. But $15.49, and you can get yourself a cool Chaos shirt if that's what you're into. If not, then I'm still excited that you even hung out and watched the live stream for this long or watched the after recording for this long. So I'm still cool with that. Whether you purchase a shirt or not, it does not matter. By the way, I do get a few bucks from that shirt. Basically, just give you a little bit of royalties off of the shirts. You pay the $15.49, and I get maybe like $2 or $3 of that. So I'm not making it rich off of you if you buy a shirt. I'm mostly, if I can make the price lower, I would, but that's pretty much the lowest I can make it. And I just mainly like, the idea that possibly one of you guys could be out there walking around in a Chaos shirt, and I think that's pretty cool. So that's kind of just the main thing with that, I guess. Where we left off in the chat. 2006 Super Bowl. Oh, we already said that one. How did you enjoy? Okay, we got that. I'm just catching up where I left off. Last question for now. I've asked a lot, but can I rank up in basic training, or can I rank up fast responsibly? Not really in basic training. You won't really be in basic training for long enough for you to get promoted from, like, especially like you come in as a private, right? E1, you're not going to be in basic long enough to go to E2 for the requirements. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the requirements. If you go back and check out my explaining Army enlisted video for the enlisted ranks, I do explain the kind of the progression process of progressing through different ranks and everything. Typically, if you have maybe a long AIT, you might get promoted in AIT, but like most cases, you won't get promoted to E2 until you get to your duty station, your permanent duty station. Then you'll get promoted to E2 and move on through there and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how it works for that. And then how can I rank up fast? Just, you know, not getting in trouble. Don't, you know, make sure you show up to work on time. You show up to PT on time. You do what you're told. You don't try to get out of stuff, you know, and that's kind of the main thing, because when you come up to the, you know, the minimum time frame that they can promote you, then they might put in for it right away, you know, where if you're somebody who's late all the time and all that kind of stuff, they're going to wait until the absolute time of when they have to promote you is going to come. So really it just comes down to, you know, being good, you know, volunteering to do stuff, you know, trying to, someone needs a guy to go mop the floors, volunteer to go do it. You know, it sucks, but if they see that, hey, this is a guy who's motivated, dedicated, and getting the job done, then a lot of times they'll put you in for promotion sooner than the other people that are with you and stuff, and that kind of helps out a little bit. What do you think about false valor or people faking their service for personal gain? It sucks. I think it's stupid. I don't really know much beyond that. I think it's weird, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of when you're a soldier, like in the military, it's kind of weird to think that there's people that pretend to be soldiers in the military, faking to do like a job that you did or whatever the case might be or whatever. So it's kind of weird, but at the same time, yeah, I definitely think it's pretty disrespectful and pretty horrible to fake that you were like that. No, almost, you know, I don't say it's the same as like faking to be a police officer, because obviously people are going to, if you're faking to be a police officer, someone's in trouble and they're going to run up to you and say, hey, help me out, and you can't even help them out, then that's way worse than pretending to be in the military. So, oh yeah, so Richard, I know Richard has a couple of Chaos shirts. Thank you, Richard. You're awesome. Says, loves mine, wife keeps stealing them. Also, you should do a shout out with pictures of anyone wearing them. Yes, if I've had I don't get a lot of sales on my shirts, but if you do happen to buy one of my shirts, you know, hit me up either on Instagram, Twitter, my Facebook page. All my usernames on there are that Chris Chaos, so that you can easily find my all my stuff. But if you do happen to purchase one, hit me up on there, and I will start adding that stuff. But the last couple of sales that have gone through, I haven't heard from those people, so I don't know who has them. So otherwise, yes, I would definitely do that. I would love to get to the point where, you know, several people are buying cool Chaos shirts and hit me up on Twitter or whatever with a picture of you wearing the shirt, and I'll feature it here on the live streams most likely. Is what I would probably do. Gotta go, Chris. Hanging out with you and everything. Take care. Thanks. You rule. Could I go into the Army as a second lieutenant if I go to college? No, you're still gonna come in as a first lieutenant. Or yeah, sorry, no, second lieutenant. It gets confused. So second lieutenant so you're still gonna have to go through the normal requirements. So if you check out my officer video, I have a video that explains officer rank. And you have to either go through our OTC program in college, or you have to later go to OCS if you've gotten a 4-year degree, or go to West Point. And once you've completed that training, then you get commissioned as an officer and become a second lieutenant. So, but a better explanation if you check out the officer video. That'll kind of help you out right there. I do have a featured question, I believe, right? I do. So this was a recent question, like just before I started this live stream. I was like, hey, that's a pretty good question. I answered it for the guy and then decided to feature it on here to kind of hit on it real quick. But David asks, can reserves do Ranger School? So reserves can go to Ranger School. So you can go, if you're in the reserves and you request to go to Ranger School, which is the schooling part, you know, the whole, just over 2 months, it's like 62 days. And you go through the whole, it's kind of like an advanced leadership school and all that kind of stuff. And that allows you to wear the Ranger tab, not the Ranger scroll, because that's part of the 75th Ranger Regiment. But you can wear the scroll, or not the scroll, you can wear the tab. And then if you wanted to be in the 75th Rangers and actually have the Ranger scroll, that is only for active duty soldiers. You cannot be a reservist in the 75th Rangers. They don't have a reserve detachment or anything like that in the Rangers. So if you want to be an actual full-fledged Ranger in the 75th Rangers and all that kind of stuff, you're going to have to go active duty. But if you are in the reserves, you can go to Ranger school and get to wear that little Ranger tab on your uniform, which is a lot of people just feel it's just an advanced leadership course, which you do learn a lot of advanced leadership stuff in that course. But it's very kind of somewhat controversial as whether or not you're a Ranger. I do definitely probably agree with most people saying that, you know, if you're in the 75th Rangers, you're a Ranger, whereas if you just have the Ranger tab, you're just kind of like Ranger qualified, or you've done the leadership school for the Rangers and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of how that piece works. Yeah, and then also if you're in the reserves and you're trying to go to Ranger school, the priority goes to active duty soldiers. So active duty soldiers that want to go to Ranger school have the priority. And then if there's stuff leftover slots, and someone in the reserves wants to go to Ranger school, then they'll allow them to go to Ranger school as well. But if they're all filled up because there's a lot of active duty soldiers that want to attend Ranger school, then you might not have a slot available. And it may take a little bit for a slot to open up for someone in the reserves to be able to go to Ranger school. So that's kind of how that kind of works and all that kind of stuff. So could I go to the Army? Oh, yeah, we were talking about that one. Have you ever experienced PTSD? Maybe certain aspects of it. I definitely do get grouchy driving through traffic. And I know some people who've, you know, suffered from PTSD and all that kind of stuff. So, hi, Warrior Brother. I am an Army veteran. I enjoy your videos. Also enjoy your uniforms and insignia videos. I have published my military uniform design. Hope you have a great day. Oh, cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, I did see your comment, I think, Kenneth. That's cool that you kind of on the side you're doing like uniforms for fun and stuff like that. So cool. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. So we're just over the 1 hour mark. So I think I've pretty much covered on all the main stuff I wanted to kind of hit on this. So I think this will probably wrap up another fun, awesome live stream. A little bit different day, mainly, like I said, because of the Super Bowl. I did not want to try to compete with the Super Bowl because I don't think the viewership would be very good if I was trying to live stream my Chaos Live show at the same time the Super Bowl is going on. So I thank you guys very much. Appreciate you guys so much for joining for this live stream. If you watched it after it processed through YouTube, amazing. You're awesome. If you are watching this after it's been processed and everything on YouTube and it's no longer live, if you leave some comments down in the comment section, I will try to answer those, and I may even feature that on the next live stream. I will probably try to do this again next Sunday. We'll try to shoot for it. I don't think I have anything going on. Yeah, because the only thing I'm doing is on Saturday night. I have the Save and Able concert that I'm shooting video for with those guys, and then Sunday I should be free. So we should probably still do another live stream on Sunday night, probably around 7 Colorado time. So whatever time frame you live in based on Colorado time, that's around the time you can probably expect me to jump on here, hang out with you guys again, answer questions, and just, you know, chat about whatever stuff you guys want to chat about and all that kind of stuff. So thanks for hanging out, guys. I really appreciate you guys. So thanks for joining the live stream. Like I said, if you want to join me next Sunday, join me next Sunday. We'll do this again. I'm Christopher Chaos. See you next time. See ya.